NFL has this offseason thing down. Yep, you start with, the combine, then free agent legal tampering, free agent frenzy, the draft, rookie minicamp, and schedule release. So this Defending the Kingdom is dealing with what we're calling the start, the guts, and the finish, the 2026 Kansas City Chiefs schedule, and it's brought to you, as always, by Ticketmaster. So many great events going on this summer, so check out Ticketmaster.
Mahomes in the pocket, he'll step up, he'll scramble 10, 5, Mahomes, diving, touchdown, Kansas City!
And hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. We are here again in the area of the press conferences. Whenever you see Coach or Pat or any of the players from the practice facility, it's right here. This is where the sausage is made. Speaking of sausage made, we now have the schedule. Ooh, everybody's waiting for the schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes out a little bit at a time, and then everybody tries to figure out what the schedule is before actually getting the entire schedule. But just moments ago to the public, it was released, the 2026 schedule, the Kansas City Chiefs' 67th season. We will get in, Matt, to we'll call it the start, the guts, and the finish. Because really with 18 weeks, 17 games, and a bye week, it really breaks down now into thirds instead of the old days where it was fourths with 16 games.
Yeah, and it's nice because we can finally kind of plot out what our life looks like over the next 7-8 months. We've known the opponents, obviously, since the season ended, but it is nice to actually look at the schedule, see how this thing all pieces together. And obviously coming off a tough year for the Chiefs in 2025, we want to get this thing rolling as soon as possible. And when you have the schedule in your hand and you can see where we start, where we are playing these games, what games are in prime time, and just the flow of the season overall, it really feels like we're almost to next season. And as we record this, I think we're exactly 4 months away from that Monday Night Football game against the Broncos to kick things off. So I'm ready to go.
Well, let's start with this. There are no international games for the Chiefs this year, and to me that feels okay. The fact that last year going to Brazil, and it was kind of a clunky trip. We've talked about that, and they'll lose that game. But for this team and where it's at right now and kind of this reboot mode, to not have an international game, to me, is, again, okay.
Yeah. On one end, those international games are fun because, we've been to Germany now with the Chiefs. We've been to Brazil. You've been to England. I mean, there are people overseas that love this team, and to bring the team to them at the events that we've done for me in Germany and Brazil, it's just really cool to be there, to see their faces, to share the Chiefs with them. But in terms of the Chiefs winning as many games as possible this year and getting back on track, certainly not a bad thing to avoid a long plane ride over the ocean. So, yeah, I'm okay with it. And really, I think starting against the Broncos on Monday Night Football, obviously a big primetime game against a divisional opponent to kick things off, I think it's an awesome opportunity to make a statement in week one. Last year didn't go the way that we anticipated. It was below the standard that we have here in Kansas City. And the Broncos, to their credit, they won the division. They had a great year. They almost went to the Super Bowl. Well, right out of the gate in week one, with our crowd going crazy, we have an opportunity to go out there and to kind of reset the expectation, reset the standard, and remind the Broncos that we're still here and that we're still competing for this division and competing for Super Bowls. So I actually love that we play the Broncos in week one and we do it here at home.
Yeah, the other global reaction to this schedule is no international games. And two, people go, gosh, well, the Chiefs will get a third-place schedule, finishing 6-11 last year. Well, wait a minute. That only affects 3 of the 17 games. And those 3 games are at Cincinnati, Indianapolis at home, and at Atlanta.
Yeah.
So this isn't a replication of the 8th or 9th week that SEC teams have when you're going, it's nothing against Samford or Wofford, but it's like Wofford against Alabama in November, really? That doesn't exist for the Chiefs here.
No, it doesn't. I do think we have a chance to get off to a pretty good start, though, and I think that is critical for the Chiefs this year. Look at last year. The roots of the season were in the very beginning where we start 0-2, and consistently we were trying to fight back from that. And just a tough year overall, but because of that tough start, really never let us get going. It kind of felt like whenever we climbed out of that hole, we then fell into another one. And for the Chiefs this year, got to get off to a great start. And consistently under Coach Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that's been kind of what's happened year after year. That's why last year was so strange, starting out 0-2. Well, I think starting out against the Broncos, again, great opportunity to kind of make a statement in week 1. You get the Colts in primetime in week 2, and then at Miami, at the Raiders. Miami in September will not be pleasant. It's going to be really hot, but I do think those are winnable games for the Chiefs and a chance to really get off to a hot start before going into their bye in week 5.
Yeah, it'll be 70 degrees warmer than when the Chiefs played the Dolphins in the playoffs. But
Yes.
Let's go back to the Bronco game. It's historic in the fact that it'll be the first time in the Chiefs-Broncos history, going all the way back to 1960, that the season will open Chiefs-Broncos in Kansas City.
How is that possible?
I have no idea. It's happened 4 other times, 5 other times, but all in Denver. The Chiefs had to open the season week 1 in Denver 5 times. Won 1 of those games, lost 4. I was a part of a couple of those. And now this is the first time that the Chiefs will play the Broncos in week 1 in Kansas City.
And what's kind of interesting is I feel like in years past, the league really stacked all the divisional games at the very end. Playing this many divisional games early on is pretty interesting. I mean, playing Denver in week 1, and then the Raiders in week 4, and then the Chargers in week 6. I mean, you're hitting all your divisional opponents before you get to November. Again, it's a great opportunity, I think, to get the season off to a strong start, not just in the wins and losses, but also by taking care of your divisional opponents, which, if we're being honest, we didn't do a great job of last year.
No, and to your point, this will be Coach's 14th season in Kansas City. Yeah. And so it'll tie, actually, the tenure that he had in Philadelphia. He had 14
crazy,
years with the Eagles, and I love it. We tied him again. But the 11 playoff years in those 13 previous years, and this is to your point, the 2 times the Chiefs did not make the playoffs under Coach Reid, they were 0-2. And so the start, which is where we break down these first 6 weeks of the season, including a bye in week 5, very early for a bye, but that's part of this first 6 weeks. When you look back at this start, in the 3 years where the Chiefs made the Super Bowl, 3 consecutive years, winning 2 of them, this 6-week period, the start, the Chiefs were 15-3. And 0-2 in the 2 times they did not make the playoffs. You don't have to be a nuclear physicist to figure out that it's just like running 100 meters. To get a great start is important.
Yeah, it's hard to dig out of a hole. The 2021 team did a great job of that. That team was battling all year long. They start, I think, 1-2, at one point 3-4, end up being 12-4 and hosting a conference title game. And really, I thought last year was going to have a similar kind of vibe where the Chiefs kind of fought back from that tough start and found a way to get back into the playoffs. Just didn't happen. But when you're digging out of a hole like that to start the year, it makes the whole year feel like a grind and like a battle. And that's different than previous seasons. To your point, when the Chiefs have made the Super Bowl, where it kind of feels like they have the upper hand over their opponent. It didn't feel that way last year. So, I mean, like we've been saying, with this first 4 games, you've just got to find a way to be 3-1, 4-0 in that stretch, and to really go into the bye week feeling good, because coming out of the bye, hosting the Chargers at home is another huge divisional game. And as we'll talk about, late in the year, the competition's impressive. I think early in the season, got to get as many wins as we possibly can, because it's going to be a week-to-week battle, I think, as the season goes on.
It's like your home and my home and the mortgage. You try to build equity. In the first 6 weeks of the season, we're going to get into the guts part of the schedule, but you want to build equity in those first 6 weeks, including the bye. Chiefs had an early bye in 24. It was week 6, not week 5. But they've had this early bye before. But even when you go back at the starts, since Patrick Mahomes has been a starter, I talked about 15-3 in the 3 straight Super Bowl years. Take it all the way back to when Pat was the starter, starting in 2018, and the Chiefs are 32-10 in these first 6 games of the schedule. So the Chiefs have handled their stuff very well in the start of the year, except for the 2 years starting 0-2. But it's exciting. And then 2 primetime games in the first 6 games of the year, first 5, and then the bye week. But in this first part of the schedule, the start, 2 two primetime games right out of the gate.
And with week 1 being Monday Night Football, I do think it's kind of great that Mahomes gets just at least one more day
It's
to try
the
to
last
get back.
possible game
Yeah.
in week 1.
It's the last possible game, so he has as much time as humanly possible to try to make it back for week 1. And then, hosting the Colts in week 2. The atmosphere, I think, is going to be great early in the season. And I think, again, after a tough season like last year, to have those primetime games early on at home, I think the crowd's going to get into it. The fan base will be into it. And it's just a great opportunity, once again, to get next season off to a good start, which I think we definitely need after how last year started.
Yeah, at home's the key prepositional phrase there, because we've been on the other end of that. And speaking of getting on the other end of that, we'll dive into the second third of the schedule, which we're calling the guts. Okay. From a historical perspective, when the Chiefs went on their 3 straight runs to win a Super Bowl, make it back to a Super Bowl, the Chiefs in the guts of the season, which is the middle 6 games, went 13-3. But the guts have not been so kind here. But what jumps out at you, this is at Seattle. Here's Denver again early. So we're done with Denver by the time we're at, before Halloween. And that is rare, because usually they kind of save those games to the end, at least one of those 2. So at Seattle, at Denver, you're going back-to-back road games after a Seattle Sunday night game, and you know what those are like. You're seeing Ellie at 7 in the morning, and you're starting the next week at 7:15.
Why even go home? Just come right into the office after we get back.
I've done that many times. At Denver, then the Jets at home, at Atlanta. These are noon games now. Jets at Atlanta, Arizona, and then Thanksgiving night at Buffalo. So 2 more primetime games at Seattle, coming home brutal, and at Buffalo. You don't have to be a nuclear physicist to figure out this is definitely the guts of the schedule. It is going to require guts to manage this portion of the schedule. Why you build equity in that first 6 weeks?
Yeah, again, because going into that Seahawks game in prime time, it's fun because Ken Walker's going back to Seattle, obviously, and the Seahawks, I fully expect to be one of the better teams in the NFL again next year after winning the Super Bowl last season. So that'll be tough. So you want to have as many wins early on before going into that game. But great opportunity once again to go into the reigning Super Bowl champs' house and remind them who the Chiefs are. That Denver game, though, in Week 8, I think about last year. I think where the season was kind of lost was that Denver game on the road, because the Chiefs had the Broncos in that game. And if they'd won that game, it would have been a huge win, right? I think at that point we were 5-4 maybe. Mm-hmm. And if you win that game, you make a statement in the division, you just keep on rolling. It didn't go our way, and numerous things went wrong in that game. I think about the 3rd and 15 late in the game. That still keeps me up at night, but a great chance to go in there and to knock off the Broncos, and hopefully we're sweeping the Broncos after beating them in Week 1 as well. And then the Jets, Falcons, and Cardinals trio. A fun fact for you. So I looked this up. That's 3 noon Sunday games in a row. You know the last time we had 3 noon Sunday games in a row?
It's going to be 2015 or 14.
So 2018. But still, it's been a long time.
Before
that used to be the norm, right?
Yeah.
We'd have a whole slew of Sunday noon games. First set of 3 straight Sunday noon games in a long time. We got to take care of business in those 3 weeks. Have to.
Well, you want to say survive, but it's really kind of gut it out and fight through this portion of the schedule. Go back to 2019 and the Super Bowl 54 championship team. 3 straight home losses. It's at this point of the schedule. Patrick had the dislocate, actually got his foot stepped on in the Houston game, in that game where the Texans scored right before the half. But there were 3 straight home losses. Pat gets his knee dislocated. Matt Moore has to gut it out and beat the Vikings. Then they go to Mexico City, the Chiefs do, and win the game that ignited everything. That's this part of the schedule. And so with the 17-game, 18-week schedule, this part becomes tough. So even though in 19 they finished 3-2 with a bye in this 6 weeks, it was tough and rallying. And then 3-2 with the bye in 2023. Keep in mind the difficulties of the middle portion of the 23 season. And fighting through that, and at least not going off the cliff, which is kind of what happened last year, to your point, in the loss to Denver. But the fact that you just kind of stay alive in this part of the schedule to get ready for the third part.
Yeah, because the third part is intense. And again, I think those 3 straight noon Sunday games against teams that who knows what can happen next year. I mean, I think someone talked about this earlier, that a team that picked in the top 5 of the draft has made the playoffs for however many years in a row. So it's funny talking about the schedule right now. We have no idea how these teams are going to turn out. I mean, I think looking at the schedule last year, if you went back and looked at our DTK breaking down the 2025 schedule, we probably thought some teams were going to be really good and some weren't, and it was flip-flopped. But just looking at the Jets, the Falcons, and the Cardinals, I think those are winnable games for the Chiefs. They have to go in and take care of business in those games because then, Bills in Orchard Park on Thanksgiving, and then you go at Rams, at Bengals, against the Patriots, and against the 49ers. That is a tough stretch. Those are playoff teams, back-to-back, and a couple of primetime games in there as well, and some road games. Your equity point earlier about making sure that you don't dig yourself a hole and you've given yourself some breathing room going into some of these tough games is super important because the Chiefs could win all these games, but you don't want to put yourself in a position like we had last year where you're playing the Chargers at home or you're playing the Texans at home and it's a quasi-playoff game. That's not a place you want to be in November and December. So, again, got to make sure we build up equity early in the season. I think this 3-game stretch against the Jets, Falcons, and Cardinals is critical because things can really turn up after that.
Yeah, as we finish the guts portion of the schedule and then turn to the finish and the final 6 games, six weeks of the year, the Jets, people were applauding the draft that they had because they've added some dudes. And then Jeremiah Love comes in with Arizona if he's healthy. So to your point, if somebody's going to pop out of the clouds, out of that group, it happens every year. So don't look at this and go, oh, well, this is 3 automatic wins. But the other thing is to look at the short week. Anytime the schedule comes out, the first thing I look at, Matt, and only being in the league 33 years probably has caused me to do this, I look at Sunday nights on the road, Monday nights on the road, where are they, who are they against, and then what happens right after it. So the final game of the guts portion of the schedule is the Thursday night game at Buffalo. New stadium in Buffalo. We know the rivalry of the Chiefs and Bills since 2018 and the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes duels. But this is an incredibly short week. You are playing a home game against Arizona at noon, but you travel Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday becomes so truncated, you don't really practice. You'll have a quick walkthrough. This is where Coach has been really good in the past because he works on this now. Once he sees the schedule, Coach Reed is working on that week now. He has to because there is no week, and you're getting ready to play a Thursday night game on the road with you're not going to Minnesota or Chicago. It's a jaunt to get to Buffalo. And then this segues into the final one, the guts to the finish, because you have a Thursday night game the next week. But it's also on the road. And people go, you get the mini-bye. Well, you're going to come in from Buffalo again at 5 in the morning, not as late as going to Seattle on a Sunday night. But you forfeit your mini-bye a little bit because that Friday of getting home, there's treatment and you're getting back at 5 in the morning. So you get kind of Saturday and Sunday, but you don't get the Thursday mini-bye. And then you got to go right back on the road again to go to Los Angeles, which means you'll have a longer week, but that takes away from your mini-bye because you're going to have that. You got to spend every part of the hours you have to get ready for another incredibly short week to go to the Rams. I've never seen this back-to-back Thursday, road, and crisscrossing the country.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I think that Bills game is an inflection point in the season. I think you can look at this and say that's kind of where we'll know where this team is going to go. Because you look at last year, the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving, again, a winnable game for the Chiefs. That was there for us until the very end. We didn't win another game the rest of the season after losing that game. Well, I think this could be a moment where, there's some tough opponents coming up after Buffalo. Part of it matters how we're feeling and how the team is doing going into it. But let's say we're playing good football. You go into that Buffalo game and you ruin the Bills' Thanksgiving. I feel really good about the rest of this because you just start rolling after that. I mean, I feel like those short weeks are a lot easier when you're winning and when things are going well. That Bills game, let's say things aren't going so well and we lose that game and it turns the Rams game into a playoff game. That's where you don't want to be once again. So I think that Bills game, if you look at this right now, really could be the crux of the season. I think that could be an inflection point, and we'll have a good idea of where this team is going in 2026. Hopefully we're playing some really good football going into it. And again, I was looking forward to ruining the Cowboys' Thanksgiving, and it actually turned out the other way. So I would love nothing more than to ruin the Bills' Thanksgiving.
So we dive head first into the finish portion of the schedule. So, again, the start, the guts, the finish. And the finish is running this long race, and you're trying to have your last couple of laps be the strongest. It starts with that Rams game on a Thursday night on the road at SoFi. 6 of 8 on the road. 6 of 8 games on the road, and taking the guts and segueing into the finish. But then I'm going to make this personal, because at Cincinnati,
yes,
at 3:25 after the Rams Thursday night game, now you have a longer, but you're back on the road. These are road. This is tough now.
Yeah, we have bad memories in Cincinnati Stadium.
Well, I've only 2 places where I've never won, and one is Dallas. We blew that last year.
Yeah, we had it.
And I don't know when I'll get back to Dallas. 2, Cincinnati. The only AFC team I've never beaten at their place.
How random is that? Like, it's not like the Bengals have been like a dominant force for decades.
I mean, we've had the concerts outside the hotel. We've had all kinds of, Kels gets stripped and mugged to the ball. It's just not been a great place. And Coach has been able to figure out everything else as far as like unlocking the code of all the problems before he got here. And in series against teams. But this is one at Cincinnati that has not been figured out yet. And so, personally, I shouldn't make it about me personally, but I want this one. Okay?
Yeah.
And so, let's check that box.
It was the Cairo Santos, 5 field goal game that we barely lost.
We had 15 points.
Yeah, and the 2021 game and in 22 as well. Yeah, it's time to beat the Bengals in Cincinnati, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm with you. And then I do think, again, so we played Buffalo on the road, right, on Thanksgiving. I think if you can feel great about that game coming out of it, I think it'll set us up to hopefully have success against the Rams and then the Bengals. And then the Patriots at home, which another huge game. And this is one of those things where a couple years ago you look at this game and you don't think too much of it, but Patriots were in the Super Bowl last year, so it doesn't get any easier. But that game being on Monday Night Football, I'm glad it's at home. And then the weird thing with this year's schedule is the 2 TBDs at the very end of it. I mean, normally the last game is a TBD. You ever seen 2 TBDs at the very end?
No.
It's weird.
No, I hope this works, because we've had it where we have gone a couple of years ago to, and it was basically we didn't know when we're going to play, Saturday or Sunday against the Raiders. You'll remember.
Yeah.
And they decided to push us a kind of a push flex, a forward, and there wasn't a place to stay. Because there was the Vegas car show, right? And there's 10,000 hotels in Vegas, but they're all filled with the Vegas car show. And so our logistics people had to scramble like crazy to get hotel rooms. We stayed out at Lake Las Vegas, where we stayed for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was very nice, but yeah.
It was kind of nice, but it was also 700 miles away. It's like we're in Reno. So when the league does this, and it's trying to get the best matchups now, not just 1 week, but for 2 weeks, there has to be a discussion about the logistics with this, because even if you're coming to Kansas City as a road team, and that's going to be the Chargers in the first of these 2 kind of let's leave it open weeks, they can make reservations, but is it a Friday? Is it a Saturday? And with fans coming in for games, they fill these hotels. It's just not as easy as it looks. And just say, well, let's just play Saturday at 3:25. Not necessarily. So it becomes a challenge. And a lot of the stuff I'm saying, Coach would make me wash my mouth out with soap. But it's not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
And so I've seen these things and the impact that they've had. We haven't even mentioned the San Francisco home game.
Yeah.
Which that's going to be tasty, because you get the Super Bowl 54 and the Super Bowl 58 rematches. And the fact that and so that'll be fun. And who knows what they got going, because they're going to be in there swinging away. And will the NFC West, who we cross-pollinate against this year, will that be the best division again in football? Because it was last year. But this finish now where you've got could be some real intense games, and the uncertainty of the last 2 weeks of the year of when it'll be played, time and date, just seems a little strange.
I wish I'd looked this up, but you remember the last time we finished at home? I feel like we're always on the road in Denver or in Vegas or in LA.
I know the COVID year we did, because we didn't play our starters.
Yeah, it was
and that
Chad
was
Henne.
Lost to the Chargers, where that was the Chargers going, hey, we just beat the Chiefs again. Like, wait a minute. It was, Chad Henne, and that was at home.
21, were we at home? I'm trying to remember because we lost to the Bengals. I remember that in the House of Horrors. Where did we wrap up in 21? Oh, it was Denver. We wrapped up in Denver in 21 because Bolton had the scoop and score.
There you go.
Yeah, and then 22 was in Vegas. 23.
24 was the crazy game. We had to. We got beat like a bazillion to nothing because we rested everybody against Denver.
In Denver, yeah.
They had to win to get the playoffs, and we're like, whatever, we're good.
23 was in L.A. because Kels didn't play.
Oh, so
we haven't finished at home in a long time.
We're home.
Yeah, finally.
We got the Raiders. We just don't know if it's Saturday or Sunday or Thursday or Tuesday morning. I don't know. It's just a little. I hope it doesn't become so flexy in trying to find the perfect matchup that doesn't throw some other things off. I think it's got to be discussed with the league. 1 week, I get it. 2 weeks, So the schedules later this year. Super Bowl 61 is at SoFi Stadium. So if we go, we're going to have 3 trips to SoFi this year. Can't get enough of SoFi and Radio Rick and the fake noise. Except in the Super Bowl, Radio Rick, I think it's probably shut down. But it's on Valentine's Day. So the Super Bowl is on Valentine's Day. The schedule's pushed back. We don't open till the 14th of September.
Yeah.
This feels like the old AFL days in a way. And but so everything gets shoved back. We start on the 14th of September. We could end on the 14th of February.
Man, that's crazy, isn't it? But I'm also ready for that. We've had a long break.
Yeah.
We've had a long break, and I know in years past we've talked about like, hey, this is the shortest offseason ever. This is the shortest offseason ever now, even compared to the one before that. And it's the hamster wheel always going. I think everyone in this building is ready to get going. And again, seeing the schedule here today, I'm fired up about it. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to play some games. I'm tired of seeing the Broncos AFC West champions stuff. Let's get this thing going. And again, I love that we're starting off against them in week 1 to resume our rightful place, Mitch, in the AFC West, don't you think?
Yeah, and I get that vibe. You and I get the vibe around the building. What's been awesome are the guys are back now in phase 2 of OTAs, so you see them, and it's a chance to bump into them and say, how's it going? How was the last several weeks been? But the vibe you get is like, okay,
yeah,
same thing. You just stated it. The guys all feel that. We got a bunch of new guys, but I think they're ready to roll, and they're ready to roll into this schedule, a schedule that has a start, guts, and a finish.